offenses, or what's called victimless crime offenses. It's morally wrong to punish people for things that shouldn't be considered crimes. And even socialist liberals at the rank and file level in Chicago support that concept. And if they support that concept more than they support government welfare programs, they'll flip over right away and call themselves libertarians. In states that do ballot access by the registration process, they'll even register to vote as a libertarian, and then they're 71% likely to vote that way when the election actually happens. And they'll also then participate in libertarian primaries that force them to continuously re-examine the word libertarian, continuously go online and look it up better and get a better and better definition of what that means. So the word libertarian should probably be used interchangeably with liberal in the United States. And another aspect of all this is that single issues determine how rapidly you can pursue a jury independence platform successfully in any given area. So let's say that everybody in the area is a gun owner, and you've got 5% of the people are principled, hardcore, pro-American, natural libertarian types. That would be different than in Chicago. In Chicago, you don't have that 5%. And but in Montana or Wyoming, you've easily got that 5%. So you need to find out whether or not that 5%, how committed they are, how hardcore they are, and if you can get to 5% principled resistance, you've essentially won. As long as your primary message is jury independence and your secondary message is elect Joe Blow, who believes in jury independence. Here's the reason for that. The prosecution's odds of obtaining a conviction are the percentage of the district from which the jury is constituted, meaning if they call people to serve on a jury from a county, and those people come in and they're randomly selected from that county, or they're at least, if not randomly selected, they're selected because they're registered voters, or because they're licensed drivers, or they have a social security number, or whatever it is. As long as that filter is not based on ideological lines that are known beforehand, as long as the selection is random, then if libertarians do polling in that same district, in that same county, we can know whether or not jury members will support libertarian ideas, and whether or not they would be willing to yield a not guilty verdict even if the person broke the law. So that's called jury veto or jury nullification of law. It's the most important concept in libertarian politics and in libertarian legal theory. It's the theory that inserts randomly selected morality, moral intelligence from the electorate, and uses that moral intelligence to determine whether or not someone should be punished. So truly random juries will punish almost nobody, because the prosecution's odds of a conviction are the percentage that is in favor of the law. So let's say 95% of people want to punish. Let's say that they're punishers, that they're restrictive, socialist types that don't believe in any individual freedom at all. Well, if you have that 5% resistance, your defendant is still going to be found not guilty, or the case is going to be dismissed. And here's why. You take 0.95 times 0.95 times 0.95. You do that 12 times. You take 0.95 to the 12th power. And that gives you the prosecution's odds of a conviction if 95% of people are in favor of the law and applying the law. Keep in mind that's two levels. There's being in favor of the law, saying that you're in favor of the law, and then being committed enough to enforce the law is a higher level of commitment. Okay? And what you'll find, though, is that that 5%, the 5% of resistance has a better chance of being seated on the jury if it's truly random. If you think of that, it's like It's like a pistol with 95 empty chambers, and 5 of them have a bullet in them. If you're the prosecutor, are you going to put that gun against your temple and pull the trigger 12 times? Probably not, because 5 out of 95, you might do it once if they offered you $1 million. Just take the chance, but you're not going to do it 5 times because it's too great of a chance for you to lose the case. And prosecutors and judges don't want to lose cases. They really don't. They all have like 98% conviction rates because they stack the jury beforehand with the jury questioning process. So that 5% is the intelligent principled resistance. And the intelligent principled resistance can explain to the other jury members how they're a not guilty vote and they're absolutely not going to change their vote, and so it just won't be unanimous. They're going to hang the jury, and they're going to do so on moral grounds. And they can shame the other jury members on moral grounds if approximately half of them are uncommitted. That's not a good idea, though, because the other jury members can tattle on a morally principled, committed individual. So it's best just to vote not guilty. When it goes around the table and they ask you to vote, how do you vote? Let's just take a preliminary vote. Just keep voting not guilty, and then don't change your vote, no matter what the outcry is, no matter how people complain. And if they ask you why, you just say, I think the prosecution's lying, because they can't force you to trust the prosecution. They can't force you to think the prosecution's a great guy who would never lie. If you say anything else, or if you say, I'm nullifying the law, I believe we have a right to judge the legitimacy of the law, the judge will actually, in many parts of the country where they claim you don't have that right, where they falsely claim that you don't have that right, now you do have that right, because if you lived in an area that didn't have that right, you would live in an area where the Bill of Rights doesn't apply. The Sixth Amendment to the Bill of Rights says you have a right to due process, and that's a part of due process. But they don't teach that in the government schools anymore. They've made a better breed of idiot. They've dumbed down the nation to the point where most people are stupid enough to mindlessly accept tyranny and to mindlessly accept every existing law and believe it's legitimate just because elected legislators voted for it. Well, guess what? Elected legislators will vote for anything. They'll literally vote for anything, no matter how tyrannical it is, no matter how much it violates property rights, individual rights, or due process, they'll vote for it. So they'll do that just so that other legislators will support them, and so the parties will support them and give them money to comply with the ballot access restrictions and to give them money to campaign. That's how the system was recursively corrupted over time, is by the major parties targeting anyone who did not support every existing law, no matter how tyrannical. That's then a signaling method, a signaling apparatus that's put in place for them to measure the likely outcome of an election and perform corrections on the network before the election. So if pro-freedom networks are going to have the ability to engage in political warfare or to fight in our own way to make corrections before the election and to allocate our resources where they can do some good, we have to know where they'll do some good. We have to conduct polling in those areas. And you'll find that libertarian areas, or areas that will not engage in libertarian civil disobedience and jury nullification of law, those are areas where we politically don't have much of a chance. So we're not going to be running candidates in those areas if they're just going to lose anyway, most likely. At least it wouldn't be the most rational use of resources. So the best thing to do is to finance candidates that are running in relatively pro-freedom areas where the candidate has made all the candidate-type decisions. Do I have a chance? Am I a good public speaker? Will people vote for me? Am I respected in the community? All the same kinds of calculations and decisions that Dick Randolph made in Alaska. All the same kinds of decisions, incidentally, that, I don't know if it's within reach here, the book Winning Elections. The Dick Simpson book or Fouchot college textbook about winning elections, and both are used as college textbooks, but either one is fine for those kinds of decisions.